Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Right, I'm going to try, as I say every week, to bring this in under an hour today. I've got some other bits and pieces that I need to get sorted out after I finish this, so if I can bring it in under an hour, that will be absolutely brilliant. Plus, it will give you a lot of chance to get on with your day rather than sitting here listening to me prattling away for hours on end. I'll crack on with the comments first off. I'll start with David, or we'll start with David. Have you seen a film called Britannia Hospital with Reginald Perrin? I think you mean Leonard Rossiter. Reggie Perrin was the character he played in a comedy series, which was absolutely brilliant. I haven't seen it for years. I would love to see it again. And what are your thoughts? Britannia Hospital. I remember this from a long, long time back. I remember it being on Thorn EMI VHS, if I remember correctly. I did see it. I remember it being quite grim. It was a bit of an attack on the NHS as it was at the time. And I bet that if you watched it now, it would seem even more relevant, the way the state that the NHS is in at the moment. So I have seen it, but a long time back. So when it came out on VHS would have been early 80s. So you're talking over 40 years since I saw that one, but I wouldn't mind taking another look at it. I'll see if I can get a copy of it just to see how it holds up today. But yes, but a long time ago. And you also asked me, and this is a question you've asked me before and I didn't get back to you, so I apologise for that. What are some of the worst films you have seen in the cinema or got on physical media? I tended when I used to go to the cinema not to go and see films that I didn't think I'd like. Mostly because I thought it was a waste of money and a waste of time. So, and physical media, I certainly wouldn't buy something that I didn't think I was going to enjoy. My least favourite genre has got to be, I mean, as you know, I don't like rubbishing other people's work. Filmmakers, directors, that kind of thing. It doesn't sit right with me to do it. So most mainstream films I can usually sort of get on with. I'll just sit and watch them and either enjoy them or think, oh, they're not really for me. But if I had to pick a genre that I'm really, really not particularly taken with, I would say it's extreme cinema. As you know, I've got a very, very low threshold for violence nowadays. I just don't like watching it. It's as simple as that. And if I see the term extreme cinema attached to a movie, I will usually avoid it like the plague. Examples of that would be a movie that I'm going to be talking about in a few minutes. It's one that I've been challenged to watch and I'm not sure I can do it. But other examples would be the French movie Irreversible, High Tension, that was another French movie. Anything with over the top realistic violence I tend to shy away from, because it's not so much that I can't watch it. I probably could, I just don't want to. I'm getting a bit tired now of movies that fall into that particular genre but they're not sort of mentioned as being in that genre, and you watch them and you think, oh god, I wished I'd have known. You know, there are scenes in certain movies that I see that I can't unsee and wish that I could. There's a lot of scenes like that in mainstream films, but if I had to pick a type of film that I definitely don't like watching, and I would consider them to be my worst films, it would be anything that falls within the extreme cinema bracket. It just doesn't sit right with me nowadays, and I can't see the point in watching a movie unless it's just a horror film where you're occasionally sort of going, oh god, no. But stuff that you're literally sticking your fingers in your ears and it's just so unpleasant that you can't watch it. I don't see the point in it. I really don't. Life's too short. So yeah, extreme cinema, David. That would be my worst, pretty much my worst nightmare, is having to sit and watch something like that. And talking of this, Rick, morning Rick, you're going to be very disappointed in me. The original Human Centipede isn't that great. It has to be number 2. It would have to be, wouldn't it? My favourite Statham movies are The Beekeeper, Homefront and Safe. I've got Homefront. I've not heard of Safe, and I've definitely heard of The Beekeeper because I believe it's on Prime, but I've not seen it. One of the most underrated action stars is Scott Adkins, another Englishman. His best movies are Close Range, Accident Man, Eliminators, and Avengement. I think I've seen a trailer to a movie called Avengement, and it looked amazing. It's a British thing, isn't it? I think I actually got hold of a copy of that. I've got it somewhere, and I kept meaning to watch it and never did. Um, all boots on the ground stuff, straight up action. Awesome vid as always, Tony, mate. You may change your mind about that in a minute. You were talking about the Human Centipede. I think most people have said that the Human Centipede, the original, is just unpleasant, but it's nothing compared to the second one. I thought about this yesterday, and I thought, you know what, shall I just get it out of the way and have a watch of it? So I thought, you know what, I'll go on, and this is an old story with me. I went on to the Parents Guide on the IMDb, and most movies that I'm concerned about usually have, in the violence section, it's classed as severe. It will normally have 5 or 6 scenes that you read and you think, you know what, I know they're coming, but I'll have a look at them. Human Centipede 2 had, it must have been 20 at least, and some of the things that were mentioned in there are so vile and unpleasant. I know for a fact I would not be able to watch them. I would either be muting the sound or turning away from it. Rick, I don't think I can do it. But more to the point, I don't want to do it. I really, really don't want to sit through something, especially some of the vile acts that I was reading about. Do I really want to see them on the screen? I really don't. I've not got the sensibilities for it nowadays, mate. I really, really haven't. I thought I might be able to get away with it. I mean, I read some of the reviews as well on the IMDb and on various other sites. And apart from real die-hard, hardcore sort of horror fans, most people have just called it vile, disgusting, and pointless. I'm sure Lawrence Harvey is a very, very nice man. I'm sure he is. You've worked with him. But I'm really sorry. I may have to back out of this one because from what I've read and what I've heard, I don't think I would get past the first hour. Apparently the first hour is pretty sort of routine. It's just violent and nasty. The last 30 minutes is apparently every single kind of fucked up that you could possibly imagine. The baby, need I say more? You know this because you've seen it, but I am absolutely 1000% certain I would not be able to sit through that bit. I couldn't watch anything like that. So it's off the table for the moment, Rick, and I do apologise if that disappoints you. I really don't want to do that. I just know what my limitations are as far as this kind of thing goes, and as I explained to David a little bit earlier, extreme cinema just does nothing for me. It really doesn't. It just puts images in my head that I can't get rid of. I can't remember what the last one was. It was probably something like Irreversible, that French one. And even though that is sort of 25 years old, it's a horrible film, a truly, truly horrible film. Whether I could watch the first one, I don't know. I may give that one a go. But the second one, I'm sincerely apologising here, mate. I don't want to watch it. I really don't. I know it's a challenge and this, that and the other, but if anybody's got any other challenges for me, as in movies that will take me out of my comfort zone, but not so far as I can't find my way back, please. But I'm not saying no, Rick. I'm just saying I don't really want to. So if that disappoints you or upsets you, I do apologise. I don't mean to. It's just not me. It really, really isn't. Roy, morning, Roy. Hello, Tony. Great stuff again, mate. Cheers, Roy. I've watched at work this morning, so you have paid for a couple of Blu-rays. Thanks for that. You're more than welcome. I listened to Higgis, Honey Geeky showing at work on a Saturday morning, and it's perfect because you don't have to watch it. You can just listen to it, and I can make notes as I go along and sort of put them all onto the screen when I get in from work. So yeah, I get that this is perfect for that because you don't have to see me sitting here with a mug of tea. You can just listen to me, if that isn't bad enough. So Interstellar is great until the ending, which is plain daft with the books falling off the shelf. Like I said last week, I had to go back and actually read the plot on Wikipedia and I needed Wikipedia to explain to me exactly what was going on. About 10 minutes into that sequence, it was making absolutely no sense. It went all sort of 2001 on me. I know this is one of Callum's favourite movies, and if I'm being honest, I loved it. I absolutely loved the movie. It was just the ending that confused me. But this is the nature of Christopher Nolan's movies. You think you've got the hang of them. You go through 2 hours of it and you think, this is brilliant. This is not doing what he normally does. And all of a sudden he does it. And it's like, oh, bloody hell. So, yeah, I did have to look up what was going on. And I did kind of get it after I'd read it. And the ending was just brilliant. The last sort of 10 minutes where he met his daughter on her deathbed. Oh, my God. What a place that was. But the film itself, I loved, absolutely loved. It was, like you say, it was just that ending. I've heard of Pat Boone, but always thought it was a female Pat. No. Pat would be very upset with that. I can't think what the male version of Pat is. It's not Patricia, obviously. I don't know. It's just he's got a velvet voice. He really has, and it's perfect it's sort of perfect driving to work in the morning music at sort of 5:45. It's just perfect. It's nice, easy going, like Bing Crosby, Sinatra, Dean Martin, Nat King Cole, all of those. I love all that kind of stuff. I even listen to songs from the war on the way into work some days, especially if I think I'm about to have a really bad day. I play the old wartime songs. It kind of takes me back to a time that obviously I can't remember, but I think, do you know what? The guys that were listening, or the people that were listening to this 70, 80 years ago, they knew what a bad day was. And it didn't include, you know what, I've got to clean toilets today, or I've got to clean a canteen today. It was a bit worse than that. So, yes, I do like wartime songs as well. Tony, please make Jean de Florette and Manon of the Spring a priority. I watched them both last year, and I'd say that they were maybe my favourite first-time watches of the year. Absolutely brilliant films that put you through the whole range of emotions. Do you know what? I'm going to knock them on to February, March's watch list, because I really, really do want to watch them. I was quite surprised to come across them on Amazon. When I saw them, I thought, I've seen the trailers to these and they look amazing. So yes, I will put those on this month's or possibly March's watch list for sure. Steve Mack, you kind of burst me bubble a bit. You said Criterion have announced Jean de Florette and Mon of the Spring 4K releasing in March. Fuck. Mind you, to be fair, those DVDs only cost me about £7, so it won't do me too much harm to upgrade to 4K and dispose of those at some point. So, but I thought, you know what, sod's law, in it. But yes, I'm going to move those up the watch list, mate, and I'll be taking a look at those, and I shall let you know what I think. But I think you know what I'm going to think. High Noon, Das Boot. Good Lord, you have some great viewing. I'm looking forward to these. What I didn't realise that comes up a little bit later is that Das Boot was actually a TV series, and the movie was a trimmed down version of the episodes. So that must have been what my dad used to watch, was the TV series, not the movie as such. So the Das Boot, it's you that said it. The Das Boot you have isn't the longest version. I think it was originally a made-for-TV program, and the film is the abridged version, which is what I've just said, which is what you just said. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. But again, it's a long film, so I need a good, solid morning to be able to take that in. That Minder set is a bargain at £25, even with a bust case. The world is your lobster. You won't get that reference until you watch it. It sounds like an Arthur Dalyism to me. Am I right? So I'm looking forward to getting into Minder. I've got another couple of series that I started last night. So I'm going to try and work Minder into that, because I could do with some homegrown British entertainment in amongst all the American series that I'm starting at the moment. So thanks for that, Roy. Much appreciated, mate. It was brilliant to hear from you. Stuart, morning Stu, take my money now for a Doug McClure Blu-ray box set. Loved those movies on TV in the 70s and the early 80s, just wonderful. They're amazing, aren't they? I know when you watch them now, the special effects are ropey at best. But you know what? Back in the day, they were kind of, I wouldn't say state of the art, but there were good stuff. There were good, solid family entertainment. that you could always rely. They'd be dropping in at the Odeon sort of pretty much every summer. Near enough every bank holiday you'd have something like that, or a Sinbad film, or Jason and the Argonauts, or a Disney live action feature, all that kind of thing. And those Doug McClure movies were just so watchable, and they still are. I've only seen At the Earth's Core. The worst one probably was At the Earth's Core, if I had to pick one that I wasn't overly keen on. But if you're going to do a box set, you've got to do all four. You know what I mean? We want The Land That Time Forgot, we want At the Earth's Core, we want The People That Time Forgot, and more than any, I want Warlords of Atlantis, which I absolutely adored and still do. So yes, that would be the best news ever. I will be the happiest man ever if that turns up as a Blu-ray box set sometime during this year, because The Land That Time Forgot turns 50 this year. 1975 it came out, so it would be the perfect time to release that box set. So I'm really hoping sometime this year we get that dropping on Amazon, and I will let you know the minute I see it. You mentioned Dustin Hoffman movies. I did watch Rain Man and Marathon Man. I loved both films. Still though, my favourite Dustin Hoffman film is Papillon. Hoffman and Steve McQueen are fantastic. I'm guessing you've seen it. Saw it one Christmas, but a long time ago. Is this the one where they break his foot with a boulder to stop him from running? I do remember seeing that and thinking, bloody hell. But it's an excellent film. It's a long film. It's one that I would not mind seeing again. It's been a long time. I must have been about probably 14 or 15 when I first saw that, so it would have been sort of 70s. I mean, I've not seen it since, but I do remember they were both absolutely amazing on it. And I always remember the paperback book as well, which I used to have, with the butterfly on the padlock. Am I right? Can't remember whether I ever actually read the book, but on the back of watching the film, I found the book on a market stall. It was some stupid price like 5p, and I thought, I'll have that. Not sure whether I got around to reading it because I can't remember that far back. But yeah, I will definitely be taking another look at Papillon. I'll see if I can grab a copy of that. So thanks for that, Stu. Much appreciated, mate. Let's see. Steve Mack, our Criterion guy. Morning, Steve. Taxi Driver is a film of its time, and as such is a window on how many young men who had returned from the Vietnam War were disillusioned, socially unacceptable, and suffered with mental illness. Travis Bickle's descent into total oblivion is so well portrayed by De Niro, and his final acts of violence prove he has become an inconsequential nobody. He despises what society has degraded into, and in a way it was a mirror on the New York of the day, and his occupation of a taxi driver allowed him to observe a cross-section of the flotsam and jetsam. A brilliant study of isolation and loneliness. The visuals give another almost dreamlike aesthetic, and Herman's score is mesmerising. Scorsese should have won the Oscar. God, I wished I'd have written that. You pretty much encapsulated it there, Steve. That's exactly how I would have felt had I been eloquent enough to write that. Which I wouldn't have been. Are these glasses wonky, or is it just me? I think I sat on them last night. So yeah, thanks for that, Steve. Dustin Hoffman movies, I would throw in Little Big Man. That was the one I was trying to think of last week about the 100-year-old guy. Yes, that's the one. Papillon, definitely want to watch it again. The Graduate, saw it a few months ago and absolutely loved it. It was a first time watch as well. Straight Time, which is one that Sam recommended to me. That's one I definitely want to have a look at. And Agatha, I can only just barely remember this. Was this late 70s? Something to do with Agatha Christie, I'm sure it was. But I'm going to make a note of all of those, and I'm going to see whether they're streaming and take a look at them. I've got to stop saying that. I've been pulled up on this. I'm saying it way too much. And I think there's some sort of a book on how many times I'm actually going to say it during the course of a video, and I've probably broken that about 5 times already. Good video, Tony. Thanks, Steve. Much appreciated, mate. Sam. Morning, Sam. I was going to check out movies that came out in 1975 to see whether there were any sort of anticipated 50th anniversary box sets to look forward to this year, and I haven't done it yet, so I'm transferring that over to next week. I will be doing that. Superb news about the Dollars trilogy getting its 4K release. Hey, Tony, mate. Hoping to pre-order them soon, or already pre-ordered them by the time... 5, 4, 3, 2... one. Basically, you're saying that you're hoping to pre-order them, or you may have pre-ordered them by the time you actually watch this. Do you think we will still get a 60th anniversary edition of Good, Bad and Ugly next year, bud? Do you know what? It would not surprise me. They're going to bring out all three this year, but they're going to want to squeeze every dollar literally out of this one, aren't they? And if the Good, the Bad and the Ugly has a 60th anniversary next year, they will almost certainly do something special for it. I will definitely be invested in these 4Ks, absolutely 100% be getting those, but whether I'll be getting the 60th anniversary and double dipping, I don't know. Highly unlikely, I would have said. Only seen Interstellar the once, amazing film. Need to visit or revisit Memento. God, why? A brilliant movie, but I absolutely did not get it. The pure definition of a mind fuck, but it was good. It was really well done. Guy Pearce was excellent in it. I mean, he's excellent in everything he does. But I kept getting lost in it. Every 10 minutes or so, something would happen, and I think, what? Where are we now? What are we doing now? I did see it through, but it made absolutely no sense to me, I'm afraid. Also need to rewatch Oppenheimer. That's a long ass film to rewatch, that is. I watched it first time about 6 months ago. Really, really enjoyed it, but I remember coming to the end of it and thinking, am I really going to watch that again at 4 hours or whatever it was? Probably not. So, haven't seen Inception for years. You're not missing anything. I've got it on Blu-ray because I went on a bit of a Christopher Nolan binge about a year or two back, and I bought pretty much everything that he's done apart from the Dark Knight trilogy, because I thought, you know what, I'm going to watch these things and damn it, I'm going to make sense of them. But I've not had the chance to have another go at Inception yet. I'm a little bit reluctant to do it. Because of what it did to me last time. Love The Dark Knight, one of my all-time favourites. Highly recommend it, Tony. I do need to watch that particular trilogy. I can't believe I've never seen it. But I will, I keep saying it, I will be taking them in. Whoever's putting bets on this, I'm going to make sure you lose it next week. Let's see. I ordered myself the premium edition of the Omega Man. Pretty rare now. Heard great things. Might make a double feature of that and Soylent Green, which I've also not seen. I wouldn't mind watching the Omega Man. Is it on the premium collection at HMV? Because if it is, I might have a wander down there sometime and grab that, because I've got Soylent Green, but I've not got that one, so I might have a look online actually. I'm off to see the 1979 version of Nosferatu on Tuesday. Meant to be very solid. I remember when it came out, it didn't do particularly well. But like another movie that you mentioned last week, it's gained a bit of a cult status over the years. So it is one that I want to watch, and it is streaming on the BFI player. So I'm going to add that to probably February or March's watch list. After watching the remake the other day, which I was very impressed with, but I've got to agree with you about the pacing issues. It was painfully slow in some parts, and I wasn't overly keen on the ending. Given the choice between watching Nosferatu, the remake, and the original again, I would choose the original every time, all day long. So I kind of get what you meant about that now. Can't wait for The Monkey from Osgood Perkins, mate. Also seeing that new film Companion from the same makers of Barbarian. I think Callum went to see that last night at the cinema. I'm sure I read one of his letterbox reviews on that one. I don't know much about it. In fact, I don't know anything about it. But I know Kermode reviewed it on his pod on Friday, but I've not listened to it yet. Tony, have you read the book of the 39 Steps? I've heard it's a cracking read. I haven't. I did read one. Have I read the 39 Steps? Can't remember. I know I've got an H.G. Wells book upstairs, a very old one. I'll show it next week if I think, on Food of the Gods, upon which the movie was loosely based in 1976. But I love that book. It's a really old book that I picked up at an antique bookshop that we used to have in Burton. I think it was called Needwood Books on New Street. And I used to spend hours in there just going through these old, dusty books. I love the smell of them. They were gorgeous. And The Food of the Gods is one of those. I'm fairly sure I have got a paperback upstairs of the 39 Steps. I'll have to have a look. But I tend now to go for the audible version. I can just pop my headphones on and listen to somebody else reading it to me. I'm quite lazy with things like that. I am yet to read my first H.G. Wells book. I can only imagine The Time Machine being a cracking read. Love the 1960 rendition with Rod Taylor. It's one of my all-time favourite classic sci-fi movies. Absolutely love The Time Machine. It was on fairly regularly. It used to be on about twice a year in the 70s and 80s, and I used to watch it every time. The Morlocks were just scary as hell. But I have read the book The Time Machine, and I have to say that the film is very sort of close to the book. And if you want to watch a movie, try Time After Time, starring Malcolm McDowell and David Warner. It's hard to describe it. It's one of those movies where, let me get this right, Malcolm McDowell plays H.G. Wells, and what you have to believe is that H.G. Wells, the author, actually built the time machine that he wrote about. His friend, Dr. Leslie Stevenson, played by David Warner, turns out to be Jack the Ripper and escapes in that time machine to the future, and H.G. Wells chases him through time to try and bring him to justice. If you've not seen it, it is absolutely brilliant. It's called Time After Time, and I believe it is part of that premium collection that you like so much, so you should be easily to find that. I wouldn't be surprised if you've already seen it. High Noon is excellent, Tony. I've really got into westerns of late as well, hoping to do my first monthly watches video for the stuff I watched in January. There are a few westerns. High Noon and Gunfight at the OK Corral are both in there. Looking forward to taking a look at both of those. Have a great weekend, Tony, and keep up the awesome work, mate. Your Saturday blogs are, for me, my favourite way to spend Saturday mornings now. Thank you so much, Sam. That's so lovely of you to say that. And it's what keeps me doing this. As I've said before, it's you guys that keep me sitting in front of this thing with me tea, just chatting away for an hour or two or three, heaven forbid. So thanks for that, Sam. That's really very much appreciated, mate, and a lovely thing to say. Let's see, Dave Taylor, have I got time? 3 minutes, let's see. Dave Taylor, morning, Dave. Hi, Tony, thanks for the shout out. You're more than welcome, mate. Cloverfield. I thought I'd seen it, didn't like it, not my type of movie. It's not really my type of movie, to be honest. It is a found footage movie, but it's a really outrageously sort of over-the-top found footage movie. Ride the High Country is a western with edge, starring Jimmy Stewart and Robert Ryan. I would say that it was looked on as gritty back then. Ryan did play some tough guy roles. I'd never heard of Ride the High Country, but I intend to look it up. Same as this one, The Rare Breed is an easygoing movie, but not a typical western. Never heard of The Rare Breed. The Sweeney was the remake, as you say, or you cited that as being one of your worst films, and I was hoping and praying it wasn't going to be the 1977 adaptation from the TV series, which I loved, and also loved Sweeney too. I also expected it to be set in the 70s. The problem for me was Carter's character. It just didn't work for me. Didn't work for me either. It was just completely wrong for it. What on earth were they thinking when they cast Ben Drew in that role? I saw him in Harry Brown probably a few years ago, and he was actually really good in that. He played the part that he was supposed to be playing really, really well. He was just a horrible kid, but to me, he was just far too young to be Dennis Waterman's character. But yeah, no, that was my biggest problem with it. It just didn't work. Gunfight at the OK Corral is as much about the friendship that builds between Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday. There are some good performances in the smaller roles too, in my opinion. A great theme song as well. Really do need to watch this. I've also got another one upstairs called Doc, which I will dig out and show off next week. I got it in the Signal One sale. I think it was the Signal One sale. Was it Indicator? I can't remember. And I got it because I love that era, that sort of period, and the Gunfight at the OK Corral is something that I'm quite interested in. So I grabbed that, and I've not watched it yet, but I'll show that off next week if I think on. I too really enjoy Jason's Threads. Never seen one. Oh, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's not going well this morning. This is why I want to wrap it up in under an hour. I too really enjoy Jason's Threads. Never seen one so varied. Interested to see the upcoming instalment. Oh, you're talking about the never seen thread? Yes, yes. I love it, as you know. Absolutely adore it, and it is varied. You never know what from one week to the next what is coming up, and that is what makes it so special for me. I always look forward to coming down on a Saturday morning, and seeing what is going to be this week. So yes, I do get that. My dad, like yours, loved his war films. He was also very keen on Das Boot. Um, Everybody seemed to love that. I didn't realise until earlier in the week. I think it was Roy or was it Stuart that told me that it was actually a TV series, and the movie was as was basically cobbled together from episodes of the TV series. I'd love to see the full series again. Well, first time. Um, I know you've got loads of stuff to watch, but we recently talked about another war movie, King Rat. Would you mind sticking it on the watch list for February, March? Already done, mate. As soon as I read that on the comments, I thought, yeah, that's one I can go along with. So, yeah, that's on the watch list for, God, it is February now, isn't it? February, March. So, yeah, leave that with me. Thanks for that, Dave. Much appreciated. Right, coming on to Jason K, our Ginger Ninja. I'm just going to take a break for a couple of seconds, try to get my head together, and I'll be back in a few seconds for the second part. And we're back. Right, carrying on with the comments. I thought it was going to be JK, but he's not. He's not commented this week. I think he's been tied up with Wicked. His missus wanted to watch Wicked, and I get the feeling she insisted that he watch it with her. So I'm sure he enjoyed it. Not. So that's probably why he's not commented this week. Mark, morning, Captain. Morning, Mark. Another morning listening at work while on overtime. A man after my own heart. Reading Jason's comment last week gave me a fucking headache, like watching a Christopher Nolan film. It wasn't that bad. It was long-winded, but he was trying to explain what he's doing with these films of his. And once I got my head round it, I thought, yeah, that's a cracking idea. Looking forward to this starting in April, by the way. Speaking of Christopher Nolan, Mark does not love Interstellar as he hasn't seen it. And with it being sci-fi and Christopher Nolan, I'm guessing I won't like it either. Sorry, Mark, I got that completely wrong. You don't like sci-fi films? I didn't realise that, because you're a fan of Predator, aren't you? Would you class that more as fantasy? I don't know. I must admit, I've got a bit of a checkered history with Christopher Nolan, as you know. I pretty much find most of his movies just completely confusing. Perfectly understandable up until the final furlong, and then all of a sudden he just goes all weird and out there and in this direction and that direction. It just confuses this old head of mine. So I do kind of get that, but I'm going to persist with it. Cloverfield is shit. I don't remember being overly impressed with it, but when somebody mentioned 10 Cloverfield Lane, I thought, well, I do need to watch the first one again, as I've not seen it for quite a few years, as that's the only reason I got it. I get the feeling that is going to be a binnet, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I'll let you know when I actually get around to watching it. Das Boot I enjoy, and the TV series isn't bad either. I'm looking forward to getting into this. Apparently the TV series is available on Blu-ray. I think it's seasons 1 to 3 for about 20 quid. So when I've got through the movie, which is basically chopped up versions of the original TV series, I may just invest in that, because that is getting excellent reviews right across the board. Love Slapshot. Used to have that on VHS. I would love to see a VHS copy of Slapshot. I haven't seen it for many years. I do remember watching it fairly regularly when I did have it. I don't think it was on DVD. It probably was on VHS. And I get the feeling I probably taped it or videotaped it from, I think it was ITV that used to screen it quite late at night due to the language. But I watched it fairly regularly and I loved it. But I've not seen it for a long time, and I really do want to get another look at that one. Great video, mate. Same time next week. Absolutely, Mark. Look forward to that. Callie, morning, sweetheart. It's Saturday morning, so that means it's Tony time. Tony, I agree with everyone else. You should at least watch the first Human Centipede film, even if it is just to say you watched it. Do you know what? Baby steps, I suppose. I may just have a go at the original, but like I've said before, have you seen the second one? Have you read what is involved in it and what happens in it? I mean, imagine you've got to have a cast iron stomach to be able to cope with what's in there. Um, just reading about it filled me with dread at the thought of having to actually sit and watch it. And then I sat there and I thought, actually, you don't have to do anything. You can always say that you don't want to do it, which is what I've done. But I never say never. But I really, really can't see it. I just can't. And Rick's going to be so pissed off with me. But I'm going to have to stand firm on this one, I think. But the first one, who knows? Let's see. When it comes to David Lynch, Twin Peaks is my favourite. It's influenced so many things, including video games like Max Payne and Alan Wake. I remember working with somebody, oh God, it would have been about 2010 when I was working at Marchington at the M&S warehouse. And he loved Max Payne, Polish lad. And I'd never heard of it. And I didn't realise at the time that it was based on a computer game. And Alan Wake I've never heard of, so you got me completely on that one. Hulk Hogan in Mr. Nanny and Suburban Commando. Loved those films when I was younger and didn't know the meaning of a good film. But I will say this, they did have a few funny moments, like the big burly bounty hunter that has the voice of a 5-year-old girl. I can't even begin to imagine what that's like. You see, this is what Jason was saying yesterday when I mentioned, I posted a little review. My never seen it was the Hangover trilogy. And it all sort of came pouring out as I was typing it. And I read it back and I thought, they're going to be annoyed with me at this one because this is one of their most beloved films. They all seem to love this film, or these trilogy of films. And I just wasn't overly taken with them. And what you've just said there about the Hulk Hogan movies, everybody else has said the crap and you love them. This is what we love about this group, is that everybody is different. And we will all say that we love things and we'll all say that we hate things. I've never seen a Hulk Hogan movie. So I don't know. If I ever bumped into one by accident channel hopping, I would probably have a look. But I wasn't a great fan of his when he was a wrestler, so it is highly unlikely I would bother with any of those. But yeah, the Hangover, it just wasn't for me. I found the characters bloody horrible, especially that knobhead Alan was just, you wouldn't want to be within 10 miles of him, let alone call him a friend. It was just, like I said yesterday in the review, to like a movie, I have to like at least one character in it. One character in it has to be at least, amiable. And there weren't anything like that. It was just horrible, and I found the humour to be a little bit cruel in places. So maybe it's just me being an old lady again, I don't know. But it just didn't do it for me. A-Team and Airwolf, perfect choices, but get on Supernatural. You've got 15 seasons to watch. How many episodes is that? Because the Americans normally do like 20 or 25 episodes per season. So you'd be talking, crumbs, that's a lot of episodes. That is. I do need to crack on with that one, you're right. I've still not watched the Terrifier films yet. Might need to fix that. Callie, you're not missing anything. But as horror goes, you will probably enjoy it. I would class the Terrifier movies as falling into that category that I was talking about to David earlier on, extreme cinema, and they are extreme. Just the bedroom scene alone in Terrifier 2 has basically put me off watching it. I'm amazed, astonished that I actually got through the first one and made it through it and thought, yeah, that was good. It was a bit over the top of the gore, but and then there's Terrifier 3 that they've said is even worse than Terrifier 2. Is that possible? So you might need to fix that, but I don't think you need to rush with that one, Carly, to be honest. Don't worry about making comments on. To be honest, I make my comments when I'm sat having my breakfast and morning smoke. I type my comments as I'm watching because I know if I make notes, I'll forget about it. I'm going to keep up with Higgis this time. It's back on Tuesday. It will have, the first one probably will have aired by then, will it? Can't remember. But I'm definitely going to keep up with it. And I'm going to make sure that I comment every week like a good boy, I promise. Can I have my job back as the Calico Crichton, by the way? Always got to be a sting in the tail, hasn't there? Thank you for the comments on my journey. You're more than welcome. You're probably the bravest person I know to have gone through what you've gone through and to come out the other side sane. is a miracle. So hats off to you, sweetheart. I think it's amazing, absolutely amazing. Um, I have to take a break now as my daughter is here for the weekend. I'll make more comments later. And then Callie probably trod a path into oblivion. We never heard from her again. So we won't hear from her till next week, I'll bet you. Hope you had a good weekend, Callie, anyway, with your daughter. Um, Jason P. Morning, Jay. Great vid, but, in big capital letters, please do not mention the word act in the same sentence with The Rock and John Cena. Both are shit and an embarrassment to movies, especially The Rock. Say it as you see it. You know what I mean? I don't think I've ever seen them, either one of them, in a film, so I can't really comment. Are they worse than Hulk Hogan? I dread to think. My new thread will all make sense when it's up and running. Can't wait for this, Jay. Seriously, can't wait for this. Although I spent most of the week getting the posters off IMDb, screenshotting and then cropping them, I now have about 4,000 posters on my phone and still have from 2005 to 2024 to do. Where do you get the patience and the energy for this? I've done all the 1970s and 80s ones. I know I said I wouldn't download them until nearer the time I was going to post them, but I scrapped that idea and have grabbed all the posters from 1960 to 2004 this week. Phew. And Tony, it wasn't 1,990 films, it was the year 1990, for fuck's sake. Apologies. You know what? If I don't fuck up at least once a week, something's wrong in it. Whilst doing these, I found two movies that I'd completely forgotten about. These were Penitentiary 1 and 2. Part 2 has Mr. T in it. Not seen either since way back in the 80s. Blu-rays and DVDs of these were going for ridiculous prices, so going to look on the stick for them. But weirdly enough, Prime have added these two movies today. I didn't see them when I checked Prime yesterday. So within the next week, I shall take these in before Prime start charging for them again. I'll have to have a look. I'll have to do a search for those. I went through the recently added section on Prime when you messaged me and said, you know, have you seen some of the movies that are on Prime or that have hit Prime this week? There's a lot of classics on there, but I didn't notice Penitentiary 1 or 2, so I will be having a look for those because I remember them coming to Burton Odeon. There were X certificates, so I assume they're quite violent, but they won't be violent by today's standards, I'm sure. Then again, Midnight Express, who the hell knows? I'm actually finding movies I'd heard of but had no idea what they were about, so I'll be definitely taking them in at some point, in inverted commas, you cheeky sod. Here we go. Yes, I do say that rather a lot, and I'm fairly sure there will be another phrase in inverted commas in next week's comment, I'm sure. The thread will have 6 categories. It only started with 3. Number 1, films I own. Number 2, films I've seen that are good but that I don't own. 3, films I've seen but I'd forgotten about. Films I've seen. Films I've seen but I'd forgotten if they were any good or not. Number 4, films I've seen that were shit. 5, never seen movies. We know that one. Number 6, films that look shit and you couldn't pay me to watch them. Do you know, I can't wait for this. Going through the top 500 on IMDb did bring back some memories of going into the video shops in the 80s and 90s and some random shit when Sky Movies first came out in the early 90s where you just watched any old crap, and we didn't have much choice back then, did we? We didn't have all the streaming channels that we've got now, so we basically just watched anything they threw at us. P.S. Tony, you can buy as many series as you want. Oh, here we go. Minder, A-Team, Airwolf, Knight Rider. It means nothing until you watch them. And if you're only going to watch one episode a week, you're going to be watching Mr. T in your 80s. I can't think of anything nicer to do in my 80s. That's if I make it that far. If I don't get my health sorted, I'm not going to make it that far. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I truly do. It's the same with the film watching. I have upped my game, as you've noticed, over the last week or two, and I intend to carry that on. I've had a bit of an advantage this week because I've been off work, so I've been able to watch movies and TV series, not so much throughout the day, but probably early afternoon before I nod off. But obviously, with being back at work tomorrow, I won't be able to do that. So I'm not saying that it's going to go downhill again. What I'm saying is that I can't do what I really want to do, which is just come home, shower, and then watch films. I can't do it because I get in usually about 2:30, 3 o'clock, depending if I have to pick some bits and pieces up. Then obviously I have to make my lunch for the following day, sort my meds out for the following day. I get everything basically ready for the next morning so that I get up and it's all there and waiting for me. That takes me till probably about 4 o'clock. I also want to introduce an exercise routine, which will involve me going for 30-minute walks every day after work. I could do it before going to work, but I would have to be up at like 3:15 in the morning, and I can't do that. I'm up as it is at 4:15, and that's plenty early enough. So I need to introduce that into the routine, which will bring me to sort of 4:30, 4:45, and then it's time to make tea. And obviously, I can't put anything on that only I'm interested in, because I have to put stuff on that Rob's going to like. So it's usually series or soaps or whatever. So we will go back to a time where the only time I can really watch movies is Tuesday night when he goes over to his dad's, and Saturday and Sunday, which if I can keep these down to an hour, I will be able to do that. I'll be able to spend sort of a part of Saturday morning and Sunday morning watching movies. I do have a bit of a nap in the afternoon, as you know. And when I wake up, I generally watch a movie, and that's the same on Sunday. So there's 4, maybe 5 films just at the weekend. But the time I used to spend at my mother's, it was even worse back then because I didn't used to get home until 4, 5 o'clock, and that's when all that routine started. But believe me, I'm not going to let it slide. I'm not. I just can't do what a lot of people at work will get home and they'll just literally watch, episode after episode of series until, they've watched 7 or 8 episodes of something, then gone to bed at 12 o'clock. I can't do that. I've got to have 8 hours sleep. Otherwise, I'm just knackered the next day. It's just pointless even going into work. So take it from me, it's not going to slide, but it will be slightly different. But I have done well this week. I've done really, really well, as you noticed. You'll never seen it for this week was Taxi Driver. It's the film of the moment, isn't it? Synopsis: a mentally unstable veteran works as a nighttime taxi driver in New York City, where the perceived decadence and sleaze fuels his urge for violent action. Verdict: I tried to watch this in the 80s and 90s, maybe in the 2000s too. I've never got past the half-hour mark. I've just thought, nope, boring. I was determined to watch it all this time, just so I can say I've seen it and then be done with it. While I actually enjoyed this, I appreciate it more now. I don't regret not watching it sooner because I bloody tried. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Would I buy it? If I saw it for £1, yeah. Would I watch it again? Yeah, probably in about 10 years. I'm so pleased that worked for you this time. It is, as you know, one of my favourite movies. I've loved it since the first time I saw it, but I do get that people of a certain generation watching it nowadays would not get the same kick out of it that I got out of it sort of 40 years ago when I first watched it. But I'm really pleased it landed right with you this time. So thanks for all that, Jay. Much appreciated. What have I been watching? Oh, now then, very quickly. Well, I'll start off. Last night we watched a movie called Unhinged. I put a review on Letterboxd and posted it within the group. Russell Crowe, Home. Oh my God, what a movie! It's probably one of the most intense movies I've ever seen. I was on edge from probably 15 minutes in, from the first confrontation with Russell Crowe, who is utterly terrifying in this movie. And I get the feeling it wasn't too much of a stretch for him to play this role, because he's always been a bit of a loose cannon, if you believe what you read. But I just found the whole thing intense, terrifying, brilliantly done, absolutely brilliant. Would I watch it again? You bet I would. Apart from the scissors in the eye. When she did that, it was like, oh my God, not the eye, not the eye. And then she booted it in even further. It was like, oh my fucking God. Apart from that, I was okay with it. But yeah, do you know what it reminded me of a little bit? Duel, Spielberg's Duel, but dialed up to about 15. But a really, really good film, really, really well done. I know you enjoyed it. I know Mark enjoyed it. I think you purchased the Blu-ray pretty much straight after you'd watched it, so you really did enjoy it. The other two that I've watched very briefly, pilot episodes. I am starting these series. I'm gonna get these watched if it kills me. First off, the A-Team. I thoroughly enjoyed this. It was a 90-minute pilot introducing the characters. I get the feeling that one of them is going to be replaced by somebody else in the episodes, because I didn't remember the dark-haired geezer being in it. But I really enjoyed this. Just light-hearted, knockabout fun. Just really good, and I'm so looking forward to watching the rest of it. I've ordered the movie version on Blu-ray for about £3, so I'm going to be taking a look at that as well. But the pilot episode of this definitely made me want to watch more of it. And the other one, Airwolf. Joe Raven posted about this one. He says, I can hear the theme tune already. This is the one thing I'm noticing about these 80s American series. They've all got iconic theme tunes. I absolutely love them. The theme to Knight Rider is brilliant. The theme to this one is growing on me. The A-Team, God, absolutely wonderful. This was a more serious affair. This was a bit darker. Jan Michael Vincent, I couldn't tell you the people in there. Oh, Ernest Borgnine, who is always good. But I really enjoyed both of these. I watched both pilot episodes back to back last night, and then we had a pizza and watched Russell Crowe literally tearing the arms and legs of people through road rage. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into more of those. I'm going to be watching another episode of each probably next weekend. What have I been buying this week? Not much, because I bought enough the week before. I'm going to be ordering a couple of bits this week, but nothing as drastic as it was last week. The only thing I've had through this week is the new issue of Intermission, which is Talking Pictures TV official magazine, which I absolutely love. I love reading this on my coffee break. That, guys, is all I've got for you for this week. I did want to bring this in under an hour. I would really love to do this every week if I can, because it will give me more chance to start taking on more series, more movies, that kind of thing, and basically to get more done. And I'm fairly sure that an hour is a lot more digestible for you guys than an hour and a half or 2 hours. I know we joke about occasionally doing a 3-hour one, but it's very unlikely. So I will see you all again next week at the same time. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you all again next week. And Rick, I'm so sorry, mate, I can't do it. I seriously can't. I don't think I can, and more to the point, I don't want to, not from what I've read. So have a brilliant week, folks, and I will talk to you all again at the same time next week, with hopefully a bit more content, but not too much more. Take care, you lot, and I'll see you soon. Ta-ra.